we have a long agenda today. Of course, very important topics like energy and single market. But from my competencies, it is, of course, what is happening in the Middle East and Ukraine. So first on Middle East, the Iran's attacks on Qatar energy infrastructure create further chaos, and it's clear that we need an exit from this war, not escalation. And that's why I've been also doing the diplomatic outreach to Iran to find different solutions. To be very clear, I talked to the minister before the execution of the Swedish citizen, so I was not able to raise that, but in my future calls I will definitely do that, also raise all the issues that we have. We have United Nations here today, and we are also working closely with them to find a safe passage for the ships via the Strait of Hormuz, because it's really a problem for especially Asia as well as Africa, that the oil, gas, but also fertilizers and food does not move from the Strait of Hormuz because it's not safe at the moment. Then, of course, Ukraine we will discuss today, and the big question in the room is the support loan. How can we proceed with the support loan that was agreed already in December by the leaders, and it's really time to show our support to Ukraine, because the war in the Middle East is connected to the war in Ukraine, and unfortunately Russia is gaining from the war in the Middle East. So that's why, I mean, exiting or ending this war is equally important to have a solution also for Ukraine that is not complete surrender to Russia.
Do you think there will be a solution to the Canadian election?
Well, let's see. I'm not very optimistic, but I know that President Costa is really working hard to find a solution also with Viktor Orban.
Are there any alternatives for the
There are alternatives, but let's see how this goes, and really it also needs political courage from all of us.
Do you expect new information from the technical issue in Ukraine that you can put on the table?
Well, if that helps to have a safe passage also for Hungary to say that they agree, but they have already agreed. That's the problem. Now they are taking their agreement back, and we also have a clause in our treaties that we are cooperating in good faith, and this is definitely not one of them. But the question for us is how can we really force the implementation of the agreement that we made in December.
So how angry are leaders or also foreign ministers on Monday against Orban and Hungary?
Well, foreign ministers on Monday were very strong in really pushing Hungary to agree and also provide solutions, because if they have an issue with the oil, their neighbor Croatia can also provide this oil. So it was a constructive approach, but I guess, in the time of elections, people are not that rational.
Do you have a plan B, like maybe a coffee break from the store?
As I said, President Costa is working with solutions. I was talking to him yesterday as well, and let's see how we find a passage out.
The German foreign minister said we don't know the war in the Middle East when it will be over, because Israel and US, they didn't tell us anything. So you know
Well, yeah, I don't have a crystal ball to tell you when the war will be over. What is important is that for all of us in European Union, we want to see the end of this war. We definitely see the chaos that it's causing in the Middle East, but also the ramifications it has for the rest of the world. 85% of oil and gas that goes via the Strait of Hormuz goes to Asia, and we already see problems there. Also the same with fertilizers. fertilizers that African countries need. For example, Sudan, 54% of the fertilizers to Sudan come via the Strait of Hormuz. So we are working with our Gulf partners, also with Egypt, Jordan, to really find a solution that the parties could end this war. Yes, the discussions that we had on Monday with the foreign ministers were about our Operation Aspides, that is in the region already with the ships guarding the safe passage through the Red Sea. So the discussion was whether there is a wish to also expand this to operate in the Strait of Hormuz. There was no such wish because, the ministers were saying that we were not consulted. Some were even saying that we tried to convince parties not to start this war, and we don't know what are the objectives of this war, and also there is no international law basis. If you think about using the force, for example, there are two cases, which one is self-defense and the other one is under the UN Security Council resolution. As there is no such thing at this moment, the member states do not have an appetite to go to this war. For the Iranian people, we have always supported the Iranian people, the civil society, so that they can decide for their own future. Of course, the regime has been very oppressive. There's a lot of human suffering for the Iranians, but it has to be Iranians that are able to decide for their own future. Thank you very much.